Good to have you with us for this June crop update. It's the 23rd of June today and it's a glorious day. Thankfully there's a bit of a breeze and it's pretty well about 4 weeks on since we last did a crop update, and I'm joined again by Neil Havis. How are you, Neil?
Good, thanks. How are you,
Good,
Mark?
good. Yeah, you've got
Good.
the cap on, so.
I've got the cap on to try and keep the sun off me.
We're here at the trial site, the East Lothian trial site again, and it's actually the day of the East Lothian crop trials, so we thought we'd take the opportunity to give you an update for June. This will be the last update for the crops that are going to be harvested this summer. We'll be back in September again later in the year. Still a pretty mixed bag of weather, I think. We're still getting local reports from our regional offices across Scotland that the north is perhaps a bit more changeable. The southwest has had some good grey weather as well, but it's been fairly dry in the Lothians and the borders still. What have you seen, Neil, on your travels?
Yes, it's been, so central Scotland, Lanarkshire has been a bit wetter than the Lothians, so we've seen a bit more of the splash-borne diseases in the wheat and barley. But yeah, as you say, further north they've had a bit more and more intense rain, so that's going to create a lot more issues for them.
Yeah, I think they've had a fewer spraying days probably, but the moisture's probably been welcome. As regards to the crops, well, winter barley, I think the gate's closed on that. The crops around here are certainly turning pretty quickly, and crops in general have moved on pretty rapidly over the last couple of weeks.
Just in even the last week, Mark, we've seen a big difference in spring barley. There's a lot of ears coming out now.
Yeah. Winter wheat, that's probably getting to watery ripe stage now. It's the forward crops. Some of the crops will still be finishing flowering. Options any for winter wheat if you still haven't managed to get on with a head spray?
If you're still thinking about a head spray, it's usually an azole mix, Prosaro, something along those kind of lines to try and protect it. Because what we don't want is, if we do get some heavy rainfall, some really wet weather, that can increase the chance and risk of fusarium. And we don't want that when your crop's been well protected from another disease is coming in at the last minute. So something along those lines to think about if you're still at an appropriate growth stage. And get on.
And how would you sort of categorise 26 as a sort of yellow rust and Septoria pressure year?
I think it's interesting when you go and you look at the crops behind us, you can see the Septoria at the base, and it's been wet, but I don't think we've had those heavy rainfall events that splashed the Septoria upwards. But the yellow rust, it's a similar story to last year. It came in, susceptible varieties, it's come in hard, and it's been a difficulty to try and control it in those susceptible varieties. So again, look at your fungicide options, and it was a case of getting in early and try and check it before it got established. Yeah,
I think on our WhatsApp group we sort of share photos, and there were a few photos coming in of dead yellow rust, but some sort of heliospores, secondary infections coming in on those leaves.
Yeah, you could see it actually. We took a nice photograph at this site as well, and you can see those black teliospores. So that's the rust pathogen going through its life cycle, producing overwintering spores, so it can survive onto next year.
Okay.
Usually it just produces the same spores which go on and finds a new host, but these are kind of a specialist kind of host for overwintering.
Yeah. So that's winter wheat. The crops are looking fairly well, I think. The plant population stands seem good. I mean, there seems to be fairly good crop potential there for yield. And as you say, Neil, I don't really think Septoria managed to get up the plant that high this year.
No, it's pretty much been checked, so that'll be good, because with wheat, obviously, it's the top 3 leaves that are important for producing that yield. So as long as we can keep them photosynthesizing for as long as possible, that, as you say, that will really boost the yields. And a couple of weeks of this won't do any harm either.
Yeah, no, it's well timed, and crop's still standing, which is another good thing.
Yes, that's a good thing. Yeah.
So on to spring barley. That's pushed on as well, isn't it?
It is pushed on, so you may be past the last application timing, but if your crop's a bit later and you're still thinking about a T2, there are options. This is the important one in terms of protecting yield, the T2 timing. So you'd be thinking about what's the disease pressure like? Is there rhynchosporium there? Is there net blotch? Is there potential for ramularia to come in? You might want to think about how often do you see ramularia on your farm in your conditions. You might want to think about the top end. The best product we have for ramularia is Miravis, but there are other options like Marisa, mefentrifluconazole, which is effective as well.
Yeah, and seen a bit of leaf stripe in barley?
A little bit in some of the plots here, so we've seen perhaps some issues with perhaps some of the seed not being as healthy as we've seen in previous years, so that's something to think about as well.
Yeah. quick mention about break crops and spring beans, winter beans. I've seen some very tall crops of winter beans, and I think really depending on where you are regionally and local disease pressure, chocolate spot or rust is or isn't an issue. There is still potential for perhaps a late flowering spray to go on the winter beans. Certainly pods are only just starting seed fill, so there's a long way to go for to optimise yield, so it's worth keeping an eye on those. Spring beans have made some pretty good progress, and oilseed rape, well, there's really been nothing to hold it back this year.
No, it's perhaps not as good a yield potential as last year, but there's certainly potential for good crops, and they're looking quite healthy.
Yeah, and just looking at some oilseed rape today, just green seeds starting to slightly swell now, so potential there is looking promising. That's all for this month, and I hope harvest goes well, and we'll see you in the new crop year in September.